So welcome everyone, so great to be here. We really are privileged to speak with you today. Such a brilliant, smart audience, and we do hope to bring some value to you today. So our topic is super exciting and current. It is always connected, always at risk. It's how AI is reshaping mobile security, mobile specifically. So look, we bring the perspective, three perspectives to the discussion. First, we are a mobile operator. So it's all about mobility, all about mobile devices. Secondly, we have a very well-established practice in cybersecurity. We offer both network protection as well as endpoint protection, leveraging partners such as Jamf. And thirdly, we also have professional services that we offer to enterprises, very large enterprises globally, public sector organizations, and small businesses. And thirdly, Verizon has a lot of data of our own, our customer data, our network data that we need to protect and secure. So all those perspectives, I hope, will be reflected in our talk today. And it's a lot to unpack. But one of the things, if you walk away from this discussion with just one thing in your mind that is most important, not to trust nothing and verify everything, then we would have achieved our goal today. So the whole theme is going to be trust nothing and verify everything. Yeah. Starting with the safe harbor.
Exactly. And let me ask you guys real quick, with a show of hands, who here would say that they feel like they're a security practitioner? Some of you folks. Who here says that they dabble in security or understand security a little bit? A lot of us here. And I think that's really good. Yeah, so I think the talk today, as we advance here, you probably heard that term before, that we're not trusting anything, we're verifying everything. Including our talk today. There's some future forward thinking that we may be talking about today. That's our safe harbor statement. We have to get that out of the way. But we should do some formal introductions here. But before we do have some giveaways. If you guys don't mind, go ahead and scanning the QR code there while we get ready to introduce ourselves. But one thing I did want to call out real quick too, and you mentioned this, Verizon works with a lot of business customers today that fall victim to things like QR code phishing attempts. And if anybody scanned that, you probably saw something that popped up that looked similar like this. Just like Alice said, right? Verify everything, trust nothing. That's going to lead us into our talk today. So as you guys know, QR codes are everywhere. You probably have seen them everywhere. We know that AI is assisting in some of these types of attacks. So we'll talk more about that, but we'd like to start with a little bit of fun.
Excellent. So now everybody is awake, right? Starting with a little bit more formal introductions, my name is Alla Resnik. I've been with Verizon for close to 20 years. Most of my time I spent in product and developed some iconic products for Verizon that are still in use and generating good revenues and providing a lot of value to our customers. Most recently, I took on the role of leading solution engineering team for Verizon that looks after cybersecurity as well as unified communications and some other practices, including private wireless network and others. So, and with that, I'm going to give the floor to Tristan, who happens to be on my team and is leading the cybersecurity practice for solution specialists.
Indeed, yes. So I've been here 21 years. A large portion of that has been working with our technology team, cybersecurity team, leading our cybersecurity team. I recently wrote a book on AI this year that was sent out, and have grown this amazing, I don't know, I would say just affatuated with AI. I think you, Alan and I, we talk about it every single day probably, but you guys hear a lot about it. You read about it in the news or articles that are out there. And cybersecurity, when we think about AI, is a great topic to talk about now, because I think we're in a moment of time, right? Like now is the time to, folks are starting to use AI quite a bit more, and we're starting to see tools that are created with that. We heard about that with Jamf, this conference here, which I think is cool, but threat actors are also using it. But mobile devices, right? Mobile devices are being used almost every single day. Matter of fact, 205 times a day on average, that's how many people are checking their phones, which is quite a bit.
Right, did you know that that translates almost every 5 minutes? And 5 hours a day on average a person spends on the phone.
Yeah.
The boom was a little bit less than teenagers, but it adds up to about 5 hours. And it's interesting when we walk the floor today and talk to your partners, some of you, there are some enterprises that don't really support mobile, but everything is done on mobile devices. Just look at yourself. We check our emails, we do our payroll, whatever that might be. Mobile devices is in personal and business use at all times.
Yeah, I recently checked my phone on how many hours you use in a day. I don't know if you guys checked that, but it's almost embarrassing how many hours I'm on it. But I think it's important for people that are business and always staying connected. So we want to kick this off by talking about what's going on with mobile today. Like, what is the reality? And the reality is that we trust our phones for everything. And I want to tell a nice story. Hopefully you don't mind me telling it, because this just happened today or yesterday with Ala, which I think is interesting. If you lose your phone, it's like losing your wallet. Right? We know that everything that's in your wallet, people can access. It's more physical than anything else. But I think that losing your phone is even worse. So just yesterday, Ala and I, we get here to the conference. She said she's going to go get some water. I kind of veer off to talk to a few folks, and I lose Ala. I lost her. I'm like, hey, where are you? I'm texting her. I'm calling her. She lost her phone. She ended up finding it, right? And
luckily, I found it. I actually had to track back to a couple of places where I was. I located my phone, but in the meantime, Tristan has already contacted some other leaders on my team, and
really
there was panic setting in.
The altitude is higher
Ala's
here.
Lost.
Right.
Where is Ala? Everybody, they were about to alert the authorities.
I was. Yeah.
Luckily, we avoided that, and I found my phone, and we reconnected.
But imagine if somebody does have your phone, right? Well, imagine it was stolen, or imagine someone uses malware or a phishing or smishing technique to get into your phone. If they get your username and password to whatever they're trying to trick you into giving them, what can they do, right? And if it was Ala's cell phone, and she got access to our Gmail account, as an example, they have access to a lot of things. Her photos, her notes, her contacts, her email, and probably a lot of other things.
Bank account
Account
information. And so forth.
Yeah. So everything's on our phones today. So we wanted to paint that picture. I feel like that's common knowledge at this point, but Verizon releases a publication every year. It's called the MSI, Mobile Security Index Report. Has anybody heard of that before? Oh, okay, that's a good start. A few folks in here, that's good. It's a major publication we put out. We also put out something called the Data Breach Investigation Report, which really is security, within your four walls. Verizon sees almost 72% of the world's internet traffic. It goes through our backbone. We're able to capture a lot of data based off that, a lot of threats, a lot of trends. We also work with every three-letter agency you can think of, among other businesses, to kind of collect the data. But the MSI is very interesting because it only talks about mobile security. And so a few stats here, I doubt this will surprise you, but 62% of corporations say that they authenticate using a mobile device. Many of you probably do that here today, Duo or something along those lines. And then 95% say that they're using mobile devices or IoT, right? So we know that there's a risk when it comes to mobile because everybody is using mobile today. And I think it's really interesting is that our attack size is becoming larger because we're relying on these. I also think it's interesting is that as we talk to businesses, Ala and I get to talk to businesses every single day, the amount of money that they're spending on mobile security, although is going up every single year, it's still quite low. It's still quite low. So you think about the amount of money that a company spends within their four walls, it's not insurance anymore, like you have to have that. Well, it is insurance really, because you're trying to make sure you don't get hacked, but for mobile devices, it's really important that you're also protecting it.
And recently in the news, we have seen that our water processing plants are getting attacked. And just think about it. It's essential infrastructure to run our cities, our municipalities. They've been targeted by state actors. Why? Exactly because the point you just made. They don't have resources. They don't have the resources to spend on the tools that some other corporation would have in place for years. So easy target, and unfortunately targets hits really close to home.
So I like this slide here because it kind of tells just your normal daily story of travel, right? And I'll just use myself as an example. Obviously, I'm an employee of Verizon. I have personal devices as well. And then when I'm at home, you can see my phone is connected to my home router. Now, I feel like I'm a security practitioner. I feel like my home is pretty secure. I do segment different networks, and one segment is my son's devices. As much as I try to train this guy on not clicking on phishing links or not trying to download games, he does all the time. And of course, I feel like I have the right tools in place, but virus alerts pop up or malware tries to get onto the device, but it is segmented. But I think it's interesting because even if you're working from home, companies today, they have to trust your home network. Most of the employees that are out there that are working from home don't have a segmented network. If you're a security practitioner or a network practitioner or just like technology, maybe you do, but the average person doesn't. So think about the attacks that can happen from your home and how that might translate over to your work computer or your work phone device. And then as you travel outside the house, you're probably connecting to a network, hopefully Verizon's network. If not, that's okay, but we can talk. It is more secure, right? Verizon does put a lot of, if you're on Verizon's network, we do put a lot of money and resources into protecting our network, including things we'll talk about today, so I'm not gonna give away some of our story here, but maybe you stop at a coffee shop and then you're connecting to theirs. It could be a rogue network. Hopefully you're not connecting to that, but there's dangers before you even get to your work. So the attacks can come from all angles. And on mobile devices, that's the same story. So Ala, can you walk us through some of the things that are happening with AI?
Every single one of us has received at least one or two phishing emails, spam or smishing emails on a daily basis. I mean, phishing has been around for a long time. It started back in the 90s, and it's still going strong using the old methods. We're still getting the emails and SMS now about, the good old IRS story, right, or lottery. But it is changing in both in terms of volume and in terms of sophistication, and it all is driven by AI. So of course, deepfakes is a fairly new phenomena, but phishing, smishing, and it has been around for a while, but it is getting so much more sophisticated. So we'll talk a little bit more on the next slide about what is really happening, but raise your hands who have received the toll smish. Yeah.
Has anybody clicked it before? What happens when you click it? It's rhetorical, you don't have to yell it out, but. It is, right. It's asking you to authenticate. It's asking you to put in a username and password. And on mobile devices, that's typically what they're trying to do, right? But it is interesting the way that AI is evolving those smishing attempts. The goal is to get more people to click it. And what we're seeing is that AI isn't necessarily creating these new threats that are out there. They're just perfecting.
Making them better. And combined with social engineering, it becomes so much more sophisticated. I just heard the story. It's fascinating. Very smart guy, an accountant, running his own accounting practice, receives a text. And it's a classic. IRS, your client owes $20,000 to IRS. Well, 5 minutes later, he receives a voice call confirming, saying, you just received the text, we just want to follow up, make sure your client, and of course he's an accountant, he's protecting his client. He rushes to the bank to transfer $20,000. We're talking about somebody who is in the financial profession, experienced, and he was tricked into transferring $20,000. What about the older generation? They're so susceptible. Oh, I won a lottery, or my loved one needs a transfer because they're stuck somewhere. So it is becoming so easy, unfortunately, and so sophisticated. We gotta keep in mind, trust nothing and verify everything. Especially, I think the biggest rule for me, two biggest rules. I always share with my family. First, if you were contacted by somebody else, turn it around, go use your own methods to verify. And then, of course, secondly, count to 9. because our average speed of responding to attacks is 6 seconds, but if you count to 9 and step away from it for just those few extra seconds, that gives you enough time to say something is wrong.
Yeah.
So, but back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Yes, they're perfecting the threats that are out there, but they're also making more of them, right? So threats, what we have seen, are on the rise exponentially because of the use of the AI, and we'll talk about that. But I think it's more than just finding the typos. And I'd like to say, let's look at beyond the smish that you get, because what happens when you do click on one of those links? So I do want to play a quick game here. It's called Can You Spot the Phish? Some of you may have played this game or a version of it before, but we'll see how this may trick you here. I will say that I failed a couple of these when I first took it, so they are kind of tricky here. What I want you to do is take a look at the screen, and I want you to tell me which one, the left or the right, is the real site. So after you click that after you click that link that may be a text to you or email to you, it takes you to a landing page. They're trying to get your credentials. Who thinks the one on your right is the correct one, the real one? On your right, yes, yeah. Okay, what about left? Ala, what do you think? Have you played this before?
I did.
Okay.
So let me just orient myself. Yeah.
I'll show you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The one on the
he
left.
looks after me.
Yes, the one on the left. The one on the left. They're tricky, right? Now, if you ask Apple, like, what's different here? They didn't have a real answer, but somebody did say that they would never cover up their merchandise, and the Apple Watch is covered up with. Now that's kind of tricky. I don't know if that's real, but that's what they told me, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Yes.
Well, the problem with that is that the zoom in feature is different. So if you have a picture of
Yes.
it would do that.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great call. I don't know if you guys heard them, but the zoom in, the resizable feature could do that. So that's tricky too. Yeah, so very, very good call there. All right, next one is Netflix. Hopefully you're not sharing your Netflix password anyway. I think they might crack down on that. But which one is the correct Netflix login? Is it the one on the right? Who thinks it's the one on the right? Gotta put your hand up. And then the one on the left? Most people are saying the one on the left. It's the one on the left. It's the one on the left. This one's tough too. You take a look at it. They look similar layout, same customer service phone number. The terms and conditions are on there. It looks official. Is that what I said on there, Facebook?
Login with Facebook.
Oh, well, hey, maybe my X should have been on the other side. That's a dead giveaway. Yeah, who created this? It wasn't me. Yeah, I don't know. Flip that. The X should be on the other side, maybe. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. It shouldn't have a Facebook login unless you can log in through Facebook.
You could.
I think
You can.
The one that's fake has secure server with a lock on it in the page. That's not where you would see it.
There you go.
Very
There you
cool.
go. That's a good call. Okay. Hey, see? It causes a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe you can log in through. I'm going to look to Facebook. Hopefully someone's looking right now.
Thank you.
log in
So
through?
observant. This
I know.
audience is real cool.
I told you they'd be good, yeah. All right, last one, LinkedIn. It's the one on the right, the real one. Who thinks that? The real one. And then the one on the left is the real one? All right, the URL people are saying is wrong. Yeah, the one on the right's the right one, and that's what it is. It's
Very good.
The URL looks a little goofy. But even on mobile devices, it's hard to, or I don't know, maybe it isn't hard to see the URL, but maybe people aren't often looking at the URL. The idea is that it's getting trickier. These are real ones that we captured with a partner, and it was Jamf who actually helped us out with that years ago. So these are a couple years old, but I still think they're interesting to take a
Very
look
relevant.
at. We're going to blame that last one on Jamf. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
No, it was still correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
At the end,
Facebook
we decided it was the correct one.
All right, we're good with that. So we need to start thinking about what the hackers are doing with AI. And we've already mentioned that, they're not necessarily creating these new tools. They're just making it faster and, making it harder, like they're perfecting it, which I think is interesting. But there's also new tools out there to help them out, right? Like we know that there's LLMs that are out there that they could use. Now, a lot of the public ones like ChatGPT or Anthropic or Gemini, the ones that are out there, they do have guardrails in place. If you say, hey, write me a malicious code that I could send to 100,000 people, it's not going to do it. But you can jailbreak those. There's also tools that are available, LLMs, that aren't widely available to everybody, you gotta know where they're at, that are for hacking. They're for creating malicious code. They're for creating these smishing attempts or QR code phishing attempts to get someone to click on it and do something they shouldn't do. So there are those that are being created. I think it's interesting that as this starts to rise, security practitioners and tools, like Jamf as an example, need to start using AI in their solutions to keep up with the pace. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. If you take a look at Verizon's DBIR, Data Breach Investigation Report, we do talk about just that. We say that AI isn't necessarily creating these big tools, they're just becoming faster. Now that landscape may change. It may even changed since the last time we talked about it, a couple months ago. But I think it's really important that we are staying up with this, right, Ala?
I think you've covered everything. One stat that keeps coming to my mind is that, according to some research, 80% of these tools are used actually to create scams for mobile devices. So that brings us back. Mobile devices is our weakest link at this point, and yet the most important asset for us to protect.
Yeah, and I'll add on for the weakest link, the users of the mobile devices are also the weakest link. Going back to Verizon's Data Breach Investigation Report, it said that 60% of breaches are from a human element. And that's us, right? Most of you raised your hand that you're in technology when I started this. You could fall victim to this. I could as a security practitioner. They trick you into doing it. You need the right tools in place to stop somebody. So there's a few things that we do want to talk about because we know that having some type of security on your device isn't the only thing that you need, or even just talking about security, like training your employees or you guys going through training, isn't enough. You do need to have the right tools, but it's a combination of a few other things. And that's because there's a lot of breaches that are going on in the news.
It is every day we're hearing about something happening. Right now, many of us are keeping an eye on the latest breach with Salesforce. Ostensibly, over 1 billion records were stolen, and I think the dark web operator has set the deadline of tomorrow for Salesforce to pay up, else they will be exposing that data that belongs to the biggest names in the industry, including Google, and the Google's cybersecurity unit actually warned Salesforce back in July that something is happening. So biggest breach, and we don't need to look too far back on some unbelievable things happening, such as Syncora paying up $75 million in 4 Bitcoin installations after they were breached, this drug manufacturer, drug distributor out of Philadelphia, and that was the largest payout, and then the most fairly recent as well, another 41 billion by a financial services group, 41 million by a financial services group. So it is. Nobody is immune. The biggest names, the most iconic names, like Ferrari, and that's I'm sure you've all heard about it, with the deep fake, and luckily, the employee at the company recognizing the deep fake, thinking something is wrong, and asking a very smart question. Well, can you tell me about the book you recommended me to read last week? And the deep fake couldn't answer that question, which was the giveaway. Which leads me, I've read somewhere, one of the things executives might deploy is a code word, and replace that code word. They would only know when it is happening that they could ask each other to validate or verify that it is a real person, the real partner of the speaking, a real board member. And of course, the less fortunate case of an employee in Hong Kong becoming victim of deepfake setup and then paying up $25 million in US equivalent to the fraudsters. So it is happening, it's happening right now, and we have to have layered solutions. It's not just the endpoint protection, it's not only the network protection. Education of our employees remains to be absolutely critical. As a leader at Verizon, I receive on a monthly basis a report of my team clicking on smishing links. And I take it back to my team and say, look, I'm proud of you folks. None of you clicked. Keep vigilance. And we're training them not only not click, but also flag smishing emails so that they can understand. There are some arguments in the industry that maybe we don't need to train anymore because it's not useful. I totally disagree with this. What is not useful is to take once a year compliance course. That is not useful. But have ongoing education of employees is super, super important.
Yeah.
So the code words.
I love that we're back to saying a physical word as the password, I guess.
It's like
full circle.
Layered approach is so important.
Yeah.
And processes and procedures where, let's say, an employee is being targeted by deepfakes, but if they have strict and clear instructions that whenever you're asked to transfer any money or above this amount, do these steps, then they are armed of telling their CEO, who they believe is their CEO, saying, I hear you, I understand it is urgent, but I need to follow the process. So that is also very helpful.
I love that. And I do want to swivel back just a little bit and talk about Verizon's DBIR, just a couple stats. I'm not going to read all of them that are on here, but again, Verizon's DBIR is the major publication we put out every year. Many security practitioners wait for that to happen. But there's a couple that are on AI, one of which I did want to cover. This isn't AI, but I think it's really interesting, is about 54% of vulnerabilities were fully remediated last year. Only 54%. So that means that there's a large portion that wasn't, and it took about 32 days to do so. I thought that was interesting.
But I just find it so fascinating. 32 days to remediate. Yeah. It's like having an intruder in your house, sitting in your couch for 32 days, helping themselves out for the food in your fridge, and you don't even know.
It's true. That would be weird. Yeah, and it's the same thing that happened here. But yeah, so the 15% is the one I want to talk about. This one's about AI. This isn't about a threat actor using AI, but it could be an internal threat to a company, which I think is kind of interesting. 15% of employees say that they actually use generative AI for work. Now, I think most of us are doing that today. 15% seems a little bit low. Maybe I'm just in my technology bubble and we're all using
Maybe
AI.
it's because, it was earlier in the year when
it was earlier in the year.
I mean, what happened in the past 6 months with the adoption of AI?
Right.
A lot.
A lot. But I think it's interesting because what they were saying here is that if you don't have good guidelines or acceptable use policy within your business, you could have an employee going to ChatGPT that their algorithms being used with whatever they put in, right? If they're putting in something that they're working on for work, that could go into their algorithm and be used.
Do you remember that story where this research firm, they worked on a research paper for many, many years, invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to make that happen. And at the last moment, the team of researchers, ChatGPT was all new. They said, let's put it in C and see what other conclusions that ChatGPT might give us. Mm-hmm. And they did that. And guess what? All that research that they've done internally for this company is now in the open.
Yeah, that's scary stuff, yeah. But of course and many of you are probably in this, if you work for a corporation, they probably are using a corporate paid version of it that's not allowing your information to be shared. But I thought that was interesting, especially talking about the DBIR. But I'm gonna go past these other two here and kind of get into AI again, because I think it's interesting. So I mentioned before you have to have the right tools. We'll talk about Jamf here just in a second. But Verizon also has the right tools in place too. Because we do fight back, right, Alla?
Yes, we do. We do fight back, and Tristan mentioned it already. Our network is already working for us. Many of you know we comply with stir-shaking, for example, protocol, and we block about 10 billion unwanted calls per year that are not delivered to our consumers, and 1 billion SMS messages that we flag as spam or potential smishing. So we are already doing that in our network. In addition, our customers can have additional tools such as call filter and so forth. So we have no more robo. One of the products I mentioned, I worked in the product before. We actually have a product that delivers voice security to our call center customers. So very large insurance company or healthcare might want to have the data that we collect about how the call transitions through our network combined with our partner data collected a company called Pindrop. I'm sure many of you are familiar. We combine that data and deliver a score to a call center saying this call is coming from a strange location, or we have detected strange noise in the background, and it's all sent over to the call center, and the call center, the company can then decide what to do with it. Well, maybe because it has this low score, we'll have to verify it even more, right? Or this one is, a person is calling from their normal home location, the noise on the network is the same. So there are so many solutions we provide to enterprises large and small, leveraging the vast data we collect from our network with partners such as Jamf, such as Pindrop, and many, many others. So super proud of that. One of the things I did want to mention about spam, if you see, you reporting a fraudulent text or using your mobile device is super important. We have a coalition with other service providers, and we combine that data and that helps us to decide which calls, which texts to block. So super important, do your part and report back.
Yeah, it's 7726. You can forward it 7726, or I think most phones now you can swipe.
You just swipe and says it's spam, and it's done. You don't even need to type anything.
Yeah. But Ali, you mentioned that we block over 1 billion spam text messages, smishing text messages every single month. I mean, I know you guys get those that still come through, but imagine if we weren't blocking over 1 billion of those. That's it's kind of crazy. But we talked about the network. We kind of look at that as the moat. The endpoint would be the castle wall, I would say, from a security standpoint. You do need to make sure that you have the right tools in place for that to happen. And there's a few things that I want to wrap up this talk with before we open up for questions, if you guys have any. One is the 11.2 billion. So cybersecurity is going to grow from 1.6 to 11.2 billion in 2023. So we know that the AI defense solutions really needs to ramp up. A lot of that is because AI is creating, these threat actors are using AI to create these threats faster and faster, right? More are coming. They're not creating new ones, they're just happening faster. The 5G and IoT adoption will further expand the mobile attack surface. A lot of IoT devices out there. For business, a lot of IoT. You mentioned infrastructure using IoT, at home using IoT. That's expanding the attack surface. Threat actors are figuring out ways to get in to those IoT devices. It's a lot easier for them to use that with AI. And then zero trust, you talked about that earlier, right?
Yes, trust. Nothing.
That's right.
Verify everything.
That's right. And I'll wrap with this too. I think this is interesting. Has anybody ever here Googled yourself with the state or city that you live in? Many of you have playing around. If you haven't lately, do it. Because there's data brokers out there that have your information freely available. And I promise you that if you go on it, unless you're using a tool to scrub your name off the internet, if you do that, you'll see that there's your name, every house you've ever lived in, every phone number you've ever had, every email you've ever had, how much your house is worth, your neighbors, your spouse, all of that is readily available. And so these threat actors, if they want to target somebody, they are using AI to create these sophisticated scrapers to get all of that information and be able to target somebody. So Verizon has tools to help people out. We usually help out executives that don't want to be targeted. But of course, there's tools out there that are freely available as well. So Ala, any final words for the group?
It's a great discussion. We're definitely open for any questions that you might have. We can talk about it for hours and hours, right? It's just really fascinating to see how this landscape is changing so quickly and how AI is impacting it. So we'll see what will happen in the next year, and hopefully come back and talk about it more.
Awesome. So hey, let's open up for questions. Is there anything for myself or for Allah? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Hopefully you really appreciated and enjoyed this talk here. Feel free to reach out to us at LinkedIn. We'd be glad to connect and to discuss further. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chad.